guys, and it's your girl Joan coming your way tonight, and we are getting into it straight because I already have my points written down. Yeah, because I want to save our time. And by the way, this is actually 1:26 midnight that I'm recording this video. Yeah, that's because the last time we had a bit of noise because of the children that was around. So what are we talking about today? Why I, as an individual, I don't drag things with people. And this is why I'm sharing this, because I believe you can also learn from this. The way the world is going, there's this narrative about you do me, I do you. If you drag it with me, I'll drag it with you. I always want to be ahead of you. My life is better than yours, so what? Stuffs like that. But I've done it the opposite way, and it has really worked for me. And if you're tired of dragging things with people, peppering each other, all stuffs and all, trying to get back at people, it's draining, really, like literally. It is draining. So it is not necessarily the best way to live life. So this is what has worked for me, and so I'll be sharing with you why I never drag anything with anybody, but I still keep winning. And one of the earliest time I got this revelation, I've always had a sense of it until something happened to me, and God literally showed me a passage in the Bible. That was my phone. God literally showed me a passage in the Bible. I found myself in a situation where there was this person that I thought we could have a thing, right? So, but then this other lady came along, and I saw that he had eyes for her, right? And I encouraged him to just go ahead and, get into a relationship with her. That is not the normal response of an average person. An average person will be like, no, I'm going to dress up, I'm going to start doing skincare, I'm going to do whatever it is to get this guy. This guy is a good guy, I'm not letting him go, blah 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 blah. I'm going to drag him. But I did not do that. I encouraged him to go ahead and be with her. Right now, that is one of the earliest examples, but it was during this period that was I reminded of that passage, right, of Job in the Bible. This is found in the book of Genesis. I said Jacob rather. Was it Jacob? No, Isaac. Sorry, guys. This idea came right now while I was praying, and I'm doing the recording like straight up. So pardon my inconsistencies. So it's Isaac. So the Bible talked about the fact that Isaac dug a well. Some people came to drag it with him. He left that well for them, moved to the other well. They still came to drag it with him. He left it for them and moved to another one. And I think that was the well he named Rehoboth or Rehoboam, something like that, which is the Lord has made room for us, if I remember very well, right? Now, that scripture just settles it for me, that if people are dragging anything with you, just leave it to them. God will give you a better one, especially when you find out that your reputation, your identity, or your good name is about to be soiled. You know that some of these people, when you are dealing with some persons, they are ready to go dirty. And unfortunately, some of these things can even happen with people you expect should know better. I'm talking about even faith gatherings, like faith-based communities. This happens where people can be really manipulative. They don't mind making a person look somehow just so that they look good in the eyes of their superiors. They will rather not say anything when they know they're at fault, even if it means somebody else taking the blame for something they're obviously, wrong for. And so I found myself in situations and scenarios like this. And one of the things that I keep going back to is that passage in the book of Genesis, where every time people had to drag something with Isaac, you just leave it for them and move to the next well. And guess what? Isaac was getting more blessed and blessed than they were. So if you're listening to me right now, and maybe your own story is not relationship based, or maybe finding yourself in a community where people are trying to soil your name, they are saying things or painting you in a picture that is not outrightly true just to save their own names or to make themselves look like the good person, right? Maybe you're in that kind of a scenario, or maybe you've done business with someone and they stole your business idea. Literally, these were things you shared, these were your ideas, and this person went behind you, they made it into theirs. I've heard countless stories of things like this, or even people who claim to be friends and one goes behind them to backstab the other person. These are real life stories. I know it is a painful place to be. I mean, I've been there. It is quite painful to be in places like that, but I can assure you, because I've also been there, that the best route is not to drag anything with anybody. Let it go and trust God for what you need to do next. And as I'm sharing this, the next example I want to talk about, I was volunteering for this organization that I highly esteemed. I loved the fact that I was volunteering with them. And of course, because I was doing so many things, as you already know, if you are just meeting me for the first time, my name is Jonah Nolu, and I have different businesses that I run. And even while having that business, there are times I also get to work as well. That is, I also have someone I'm employed on that, even though I have my businesses, so I can be very busy and sometimes unavailable. And to the best of my knowledge, I think I communicate times when I'll be unavailable. And on this particular day, we needed to be somewhere. Myself and my husband needed to be somewhere. It was a very, very big event, and I'd taken permission that I will not be around for a particular meeting. And because of that, I was dismissed from my position. And it was a painful experience, right? Very, very painful experience. But you see, what I did was I took my tears and my pain to God in prayer. That period, I'll go to God, talk to God about it. Maybe a number of times, pour out my heart about how painful I felt about it. But then I was now praying for that organization. I prayed for them, I prayed for the leader. I took out time to do that, and there was this particular song by Blanca, Something Better. I was on Spotify, and that song came in that period, and that song was on repeat. That song ministered to me. You can go check it out, Something Better. And so I listened to it over and over, and it was in that period the idea for Family Life Tech came. That was when Family Life Tech came. Of course, eventually I went on a 40 days fast, yeah, and the idea was building up more and more, and we have Family Life Tech as a company today. Can you see how I handled that situation? What if I was trying to drag it with the person that dismissed me from that position? That, okay, is it just because I said I wanted to go for an event and you're dismissing me? Like, what have I done? I've tried my best. Yes, I may not have been available all the time, but I tried to communicate. Besides, this is not a full-time job. This is not a paid role, blah, blah, blah. I could have done all of that. Or I could have, go on social media or start spoiling their name or start typing everything, or even leave the groups, right? Or become bitter and angry and start saying the wrong things. But I never did any of that. In fact, when he said that, I just sent him a message that, oh, I actually wish you and this organization well. And I truly meant it. Of course, I felt pained that I was dismissed. And that was even the very first time I've ever been dismissed from anything. Like, it has never happened to me before. So imagine that. So that was the first time, and this was something I also highly esteemed. I loved the role, yeah, and I loved the fact that I was a part of that community. It meant a lot to me. So when that happened, it was a big blow. But see how God compensated me. So I can go on and on to share different experiences of times when I've had to let go of something that I should seemingly hold on to. But when I let go, God gave me something better. So you may be listening to me right now, and maybe this video is coming your way because there is something you're holding on to so much that once you let it go, God is going to give you something better. I know that as a human being, many times we are blindsided. We often think that what we have is so good or it's the best, and we don't get to bring ourselves to the point that there might be something better than this that is awaiting me. So if this one is not for me, something better might be out there for me. So rather than holding on tightly to this thing, why not have that faith? Why not have that belief that, okay, maybe when I let this go, a bigger thing will come my way. Because from the story of Isaac and even from my own examples that I've shared now, you'd have seen that truly, truly, letting things go can actually open the door for bigger things to come. Because to a large extent, my experience with what happened in that organization I was volunteering with pushed me more to a place of prayer and inquiry. Of course, this should not be the pattern, but that was the case in this case, right? It didn't mean I was not the person who pray. I pray. I don't joke. It's my relationship with God. It comes first. And you see, another thing I want to say about this is that principles are universal. I know one of the major areas that people draw contention from is that, oh, they feel like somebody is copying what they are doing. Sometimes that may not be the case, especially when it has to do with principles. If what you're doing is a creative work, you can know that somebody is trying to copy you. But when it is a principle is not unique to you. It can be accessible to anyone because principles are universal, right? And I'll give an example. What I'm about to say is my own assumption, but there was some sort of introspection on my own hand that came out as a result of that experience, because I tend to think alternatively. So I tend to ask myself that, okay, if the reverse was the case, how would it have been? This is one of my thinking processes. So this was what happened. There was this person that did this video, went on this interview that went viral and all. And fun enough, I was on a radio show in that period, and I shared the same principle, the same set of things she shared. I shared it on that radio, on the radio program. So much later, I now shared a recap of what I shared on that radio on my social media platform, and I saw that this person that doesn't even like my post at all, the person liked this particular one, and I'm like, okay, this like that this person liked this one, is this person liking this one because this person felt I lifted the thing she said from her viral video to post? That was my own thought. Right, that was my thought that period, because after that time this person has not been liking my content. That was the only time this person likes my content for a long while, and even up until now I can't remember this person liking my content up until the time I'm recording this video, if I remember well. So as I was thinking about that, I now thought about my own self that, okay, this is an assumption. What if that was not the case? What if I'm just assuming that was the case and that was not what happened? What if it was just a coincidence that at that time the person liked my post? And as I was doing my alternative reality thinking, I was thinking about times that I too, there might be things that I have done that people probably jumped into conclusions that was not it. So you see another reason why you should not drag people over things. Imagine if I was not trying to drag that lady down that, oh, do you think I lifted your content to post on my social media, blah blah blah? No, that was an assumption. And many times there are many things we assume that is going on that is far from what is actually happening. Very far. Because everything is not what it seems. And finally, on this note, there is this epic example I use almost all the time, and that is the fact that there was this lipstick I used to know when I was a child. Perhaps some of us might know that lipstick. It comes in a green, okay, it's something like this. Of course, this is navy, but I'm not talking about navy here. That lipstick is green. It was sold for maybe 20 or 30 naira back then, way back. And then when you open this lipstick, it looks green. But when you apply it on your lips, it is actually red. If you know this lipstick, I'd like you to let us know in the comments. Yes, let us know in the comments so that people can know that it is not unique to just me. Now, that lipstick looked green, but at the point of application, it turns red. So meaning that everything is not what it seems. And this is one of the reasons why we must not be quick to drag things with people, or quick to draw conclusions, or quick to fight people, because the human nature is prone to error, is prone to different circumstances that can make things look a certain way that may not be true. And another example I always use is about, okay, let's say you have a friend and this your friend likes your boyfriend, right? And this your friend knows that, okay, you're going to visit your boyfriend at a particular time, or she knows you're coming, and she appears in your boyfriend's house. And just as you're getting close to the door, she approach your boyfriend and kiss your boyfriend. And then you come in, and what you see is your boyfriend and this friend kissing each other. Now, at that point, you can be quick to assume that your boyfriend is cheating, because what you saw is your friend and the boyfriend kissing each other. But was that what was really happening? No. So just because circumstances are playing out in a particular way does not mean that is what is going on. There might be other factors that are involved beyond what your mind could comprehend at that time that may be responsible for what you were now seeing. So in the case of this boyfriend and girlfriend that I just spoke about now, what she saw was not what was going on. What was happening is different from what is going on. So as we interact with our friends, with our families, with our colleagues, with people in our faith-based communities and anywhere we find ourselves, we must leave room for error margins in our contemplations and in our conclusions. The things we arrive at as a conclusion of what is happening may be far from the truth. So if you cannot interrogate a person, if you are not proximate enough to ask questions and gain clarity about what is truly going on, never come to a conclusion. Never arrive at a conclusion and be absolute about it. Leave room and be speculative that, okay, even though this is what I saw, that may not be what is actually happening. We always need to leave room for that. People who have this mentality are people that can manage relationships the most. But people who draw conclusions so fast, people who don't leave room for other possibilities of other realities, will always be in trouble with their relationship, but they may not be able to hold any relationship for so long because they draw conclusions so fast. They just conclude and they don't leave room for other alternatives. I called you, you are not picking. Okay, you are not picking. What if something was happening? What if don't just assume that the person is ignoring your calls. What if that person was not emotionally, stable enough to pick your call at that point? Maybe the person feels like, if I pick your call, I will talk to you in a way that we will not we will not both like. So let me avoid picking calls right now. Everything is not what it seems. Or you are greeting a person and they did not respond in a way that you would expect. It may not even be about you. Maybe they are thinking about their rent, or thinking about marriage, or thinking about their child, or something. So everything is not about you. Sometimes it might simply be something else. So these three things I've just shared with you are major reasons why I try not to drag anything with anyone, and I try to think the best of people. Has it been easy? Oh no, it has not been easy. It is definitely not easy, and I keep growing and getting better. Right, and this is one of the reasons why we will be having the Heal and Lead conference again this year. And we had the very first one last year, and the next one will be holding again this year. We have a community to that effect. You can join and you can register ahead. You can follow us on social media at Heal and Lead now, so that you can get updates about how it is going to be going, the guests will be having, the dates and the time, and just about everything that you need to know. And by the way, have you liked and subscribed to my channel? Like, subscribe. And so far, because I still have more things to share, but so far so good. You should have learned one or two things, or maybe one or two things is jumping at you afresh. I'd like you to share it in the comments. If this has been useful to you, let me know. Thank me, appreciate me, or share your own insights. Share what has worked for you. Share your own story or your own experience as regards the topic of our discussion. Let me know in the comments. It means a lot to me, right? Yes, so subscribe, like, share, and comment. So back to our topic today. So yes, the Heal and Lead conference is coming up, and the dates will be communicated. So you can join the community, or you can go register ahead now. The details are in the description section of this video. Also, if you are a creative, I have a community called the Empowered Community. That is under my non-profit. Yes, I have a non-profit called Lifesaver Intervention Initiative, and we have a community called the Empower Community, which is actually a free course for creatives. And then we now have different communities that you can plug in. So whether you're a YouTube creator, you're an affiliate marketer, you're a Christian creative, whichever one you want to join, you can join, and it's all free of charge. The details are also in the description section of this video, so you should be a part of it. And finally, I want to advise you that sometimes, not sometimes, we actually don't see things the way they are. We see things the way we are. So one of the things you might need to do, be self-introspective, like ask yourself questions, evaluate yourself. Why do you always interpret certain things a certain way? Why do you always see things a certain way? Right? So for me, one of the biggest things I've actually struggled with, right? And God is bringing me out of that, is healing me, is making me a better person, is that I tend to feel like I'm not accepted in a place. And so because of that, that has filtered how I see things, how I interpret people's reaction. I don't easily feel like I'm accepted or wanted. So it takes a lot of effort. Like I literally study people, and I'm always conscious of the fact that, okay, hope I'm not crossing my boundary, hope I'm not a burden, hope I'm not disturbing this person. I to a large extent, that is a filter with which I see and interact with people, because I'm always conscious of the fact that, hope I'm not getting ahead of myself with this person. Hope, right, our expectations are the same, sort of. And in retrospect, I can see that there are some relationships I could have nurtured better if I was not like that. And I also feel like those people could have nurtured me better if they also knew that this was something I also struggle with, right? So you might be listening to me right now, and maybe you are like me. Maybe you also wonder if you're accepted. For some persons, it's rejection. Some persons fear rejection. Mine is acceptance. So, although it looks alike, but it can be a little bit different. Some persons fear rejection. And so because of that, you see things that may not even exist, right? For some persons, they are anxious. It's anxiety, right? So for some persons, it might be fear. They are just afraid. They are just afraid. And the spectrum is wide and it goes on and on. But the important thing is you see things not the way they are, but the way you are. So if you do a self-introspection and you identify a consistent pattern with which you see things, with which you interpret things, you should give yourself a check. And what I would advise is get a coach, get a counselor, get someone to talk to. And of course, I will tell you where you can find them, elmav.co. You can find someone to talk to. Even I am available, right? You can book my services. We can have a one-on-one. We can talk. But then if you also want to check out other people, go on elmav.co. There are coaches, there are counselors, therapists you find there that can help you. So if you find out that you have a consistent pattern of viewing things, and this pattern of viewing things is disempowering, it is not enabling, it is disenabling, it is a sign that you need to check yourself. It's a sign that maybe there's some trauma out there, there are some paradigms you have that may be self-sabotaging, right? There might be some perspectives you have or certain cultural norms or notions you hold on to that in itself they are not beneficial to you or even to anyone, right? And you see, if you don't deal with these things, they will remain as a limitation in your life. And I'm sure that you don't want to proceed into 2025 and even the years to come being limited. Don't be the weapon fashioned against yourself. Limiting beliefs can really be a weapon fashioned against a person, right? You can say, oh, you have external enemies. But what if the enemy is the enemy within? So one of the ways you can actually introspect yourself is to identify the way you interpret things. Are they empowering or are they disempowering? Are they enabling or disenabling? But like I said, I will advise you to get a counselor or a coach. Go check out elmav.co and find a suitable coach to help you. And if you want me, you can also book my services on elmav.co. I want to believe that this has been valuable for your time. And if you're listening to me right now, I do hope that this would encourage you not to drag anything with anyone, but to trust God, let it go, and trust God to give you something better. And this is how people will wonder that we keep attacking this girl, we keep doing different things to her, but it's not working. Despite all our plots, she keeps winning. She keeps winning. And finally, remember Joseph, right? So let's even say someone is truly plotting something bad against you. Someone is really out there trying to undo you. Remember Joseph. For, is it 13 years thereabout? Or more than 13 years, his brothers lied against him. And for 13 years, it looked like the brothers were right. But guess what? The truth came out eventually. So maybe you're here, you've been a product of lies that people have told, whether directly or indirectly, whether consciously or unconsciously, they painted you in a manner that is not true. You know, they've said the wrong things about you, and sometimes you might not even be able to salvage those things. Maybe you cannot defend yourself because even the people involved did not even ask you. They didn't ask you what your own side of the story is. They just heard that person's side of the story and they drew conclusion. And if you're listening to me, it is not a wise thing to draw conclusion based on only what one person told you. If you've not heard all the sides involved, so if 3 people are involved, hear the 3 sides. If 5 people are involved, hear the 5 sides before you draw conclusion. So if you draw conclusion based on only what one person tells you, or even 2, and you don't involve the remaining 3, you still not made a wise conclusion, because it won't be balanced until you hear everybody's story. No matter how convincing some persons are, if you don't hear the side of all the parties involved, your conclusion will still be erratic. Yeah, because everything is not what it seems. So look at Joseph's life. His 11 brothers, they all lied. 11 people lied against one person, or 10 as it were. Whatever the case, they were the majority. They lied against him that he was dead. He was enslaved. I mean, that something has killed him. And that lie lasted for those several years. But see how God lifted him. Despite the things his brother did, he didn't have a bitter heart. You know, at the point where he was even trying to do God's will, you know, go and read Genesis if you don't know this story, where he was now an houseboy, right, like a slave in his master's house, and his master's wife wanted to sleep with him, and he was trying to do the right thing by running away from this married woman that wanted to sleep with him. And guess what? Because he did the right thing, he was sent to jail. So meaning that sometimes the fact that you are doing the right thing does not mean you might get the reward for righteousness immediately. But if you stay with God, He will compensate you for everything. Because look at Joseph. If Joseph did not go to prison, or even if he stayed in Potiphar's house to work for that amount of years, there was no way he would have smelled, he would be able to come close to where God eventually placed him. There was no way he would have become a politician in Egypt. But see how God compressed time and compensated him for all the pain, all the lies that his brother told against him, and the people that threw him into prison. God compensated him. So if you're listening to me and truly you've been a victim of people's manipulations, evil orchestrations, lies, whether consciously or unconsciously, because sometimes people do not even know that they are harming you. So whether consciously or unconsciously, remember Joseph. Stay faithful with God. Trust God. Even in that prison, don't be bitter, because when Joseph was in the prison, they didn't say he was a bitter, angry, erratic person. No. They saw that he was a calm, composed person that even had leadership qualities, so much so that they were even giving him responsibilities in the prison. The natural human tendency is to be erratic, is to be angry with everybody, angry with God, that God, I'm trying to do your will, and why is it that every time I'm trying to do your will, everything keeps backfiring? That is the natural, normal human reaction to his experiences. But he did better. He let it go. He left it for them. They fought him over it. He left it for them. Continue to love God. Continue to serve God. And when it was time for God to reward those years, oh my God, He became the prime minister, like the second, literally the leader of the entire country. So if you're listening to me and you've been a victim, remember Joseph and stay with God. It may look as if these other people's lies or whatever they are doing, whatever manipulation is winning for now, but don't worry. Stay with God. There is nobody that God owes. God owes no man nothing. If you stay with God, He will reward you, and He will reward you diligently. So with this few points of mine, I hope I've been able to convince you and not confuse you that it pays not to fight anybody over anything or drag anything with anybody. Let it go and let God. This has worked for me. It has worked in the Bible, and the Bible does not change. It is full of timeless principles, and it will work for you if you follow it to the letter. Thank you for watching. See you next time. Like, share with somebody. Like, there's somebody in your network that needs to hear what I've just shared now. So share it with them. You don't know how this can actually help someone that is grieving or hurting right now, or maybe someone that is about to find themselves in a contradictory situation. This might be the video that can uplift them. So share it with someone. Like, and let me know how this has blessed you in the comments. And if you've not subscribed, subscribe. Okay, enough. Bye.